What are the habits that will enable you to live effectively and experience true success and enduring happiness? This book answers that question. This is a summary of the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Let's dive in. Stephen Covey had an in-depth study on success literature published in the United States that people considered to be the keys to successful living. This is composed of 200 years of writings on success, such as books, articles, essays on self-improvement, popular psychology, and self-help. He noticed a shift in writings about success and felt that the last 50 years were superficial. The last 50 years, what could be called personality ethic, is focused on social image consciousness, techniques, and quick fixes. In contrast to the first 150 years of literature, what could be called the character ethic is focused on things like integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance, and courage. Personality ethic is focused on appearing a certain way, while character ethic is focused on actually embodying certain principles and habits as the foundation of success. Although there is no denying personality ethics such as public relation techniques and positive mental attitudes are important, it is secondary and not primary traits. For example, expressing yourself to your relationships using influence strategies and tactics while your character is fundamentally flawed will result to your friends sensing duplicity and insincerity. You will be perceived as manipulative, and it will breed distrust in the long run. Because you are not the constant radiation of what you will be seen as pretentious. Our character is built through habits, a day in, day out expression of ourselves. Just like the maxim goes, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. The 7 habits help you embody the principles of human effectiveness. Internalization of correct principles that will produce enduring happiness and success. Habit 1. Be proactive. One of our unique abilities is to be able to improve our lives through our conscious efforts. We can reflect and evaluate ourselves. We can learn from our own and other people's mistakes and successes, and we can develop a habit or break one. We are not a product of deterministic factors in life such as genetic determinism. I have a short temper because I've inherited it from my grandparent. Or psychic determinism, the reason I can't be more empathetic to people is because of my upbringing. Or environmental determinism, I'm not disciplined because I was raised in a lazy household. Although we can acknowledge that these factors can influence us, and sometimes in a powerful way, we are not determined by them. We can be influenced by our conditionings and condition, but we have control over that influence. Between a stimulus and a response, we have the freedom to choose. We have unique human capabilities that empower us over our conditionings and condition. The capabilities that allow us to be proactive. We have self-awareness, the ability to be conscious and examine our own thoughts and behavior objectively through reflection and introspection. We have imagination, the ability to create in our own minds beyond our present reality. We have a conscience, a deep inner awareness of right and wrong, and independent will, the ability to act based on our self-awareness, free of all other influences. The difference between proactive and reactive people. Reactive people focus their efforts on things they have no control of, their circle of concern, by focusing on what other people think, dwelling on others and their own mistakes, on excuses why they can't do something, and focus on problems than opportunities, which causes their circle of influence to shrink. Proactive people focus their efforts on the things they can do something about, what could be called the circle of influence, such as learning something new and expanding their knowledge, or building healthier habits, skills, mindsets, attitudes, and actions. They learn to subordinate a feeling or an impulse to a value. Their response is not a product of an external stimuli, but a value-driven choice. Proactive people choose to empower things they have control over, and as these accumulate, it causes their circle of influence to expand. Being proactive teaches us that we are responsible for our own lives. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not our conditions. We have the ability and the responsibility to make things happen. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. To begin with the end in mind is to form your end goal, destination, or vision. Having a clear map of where you are now, where you want to be, and how to get there. If you are still unsure of what you want in life, one thought experiment you can do is to imagine yourself at your funeral. What kind of person do people that care for you remember you for? What character would you like them to have seen in you? What contributions and achievements would you want them to remember? What difference would you like to have made in their lives? It's incredibly easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, to work harder and harder only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. It is easy to be busy with unimportant things or something that doesn't resonate with you. To begin with the end in mind is to remind ourselves of what is deeply important to us and to manage ourselves effectively to do what matters most. All things are created twice. Habit 2 is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation and physical or second creation. Take, for example, the construction of your dream house. You hire an architect to help you realize it. They help you with planning finances, how much is your budget, then establish the cost to build them. Help you with envisioning the design, what will the house look like, and how be structured and organized. And with other technical prerequisites such as structural, electrical, and plumbing. And lastly, implementation of the plan through construction. The plan comes first, before the implementation. If you don't plan, you put yourself at a lot of possible risks, such as ending up with a poorly designed house, ineffective resource allocation because of unnecessary problems, impulsive spending, and poor financial planning. Also, construction problems such as a house not meeting the standard codes and regulations, and a house with structural issues. You can begin with the end in mind in all aspects of life, such as in starting a business. It is important to craft a business plan to have a defined strategy for success. You envision your career trajectory through a career plan, to have a plan towards a fulfilling career, or in finding the right college major. You start visualizing disciplines that resonate with you. It's a principle that all things are created twice in life. But we must be aware that not all first creations are by conscious design. If we don't proactively design the life we want in default, life shapes us. We empower external influences, conditions, and our conditioning to shape our lives. The most effective way to begin with the end in mind is to develop a personal mission statement. It involves character, what you want to be, contribution, what you want to do, achievements, our values and principles which being and doing are based on. Our meaning comes from within. In the words of Viktor Frankl, ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life. He can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life, he can only respond by being responsible. Here is an example of a personal creed by Rolf Kerr. He has expressed his personal creed this way: succeed at home first. Seek and merit divine help. Never compromise honesty. Remember the people involved. Hear both sides before judging. Obtain counsel of others. Defend those who are absent. Be sincere yet decisive. Develop one new proficiency a year. Hustle while you wait. Maintain a positive attitude. Keep a sense of humor. Be orderly in person and at work. Do not fear mistakes. Fear only the absence of creative, constructive, and corrective responses to those mistakes. Concentrate all the abilities and efforts on the task at hand, not worrying about the next job or promotion. Habit 3. Put first things first. Important things must not be sacrificed by things that don't matter. But how do we organize around our priorities to effectively use our time and energy to do the things we needed to do to reach our goals? In the field of time management, there have been approaches that aim to move us toward greater control over our lives. The first generation could be characterized by notes and checklists, an effort to give some level of recognition to jot down demands placed on our time and energy. The second generation could be characterized by calendars and appointment books. This approach encourages us to look ahead, to schedule events and activities in the future. The third generation represents the current time management field. It takes in an aspect to preceding generations and made improvements. It involves clarifying values, the idea of prioritization, setting short-term and long-term goals toward those values, and the concept of daily planning, of making a specific plan to accomplish goals and activities. While the third generation has made a significant contribution, people have begun to realize, in striving towards efficient scheduling, that too much control over our time is often counterproductive. The focus on efficiency creates expectations that clash with the opportunities to develop rich relationships, meet human needs, and enjoy some spontaneity in daily moments. As a result, people have become disinterested in time management programs and planners that make them feel too scheduled, too restricted, and too rigid, and revert to first or second generation approaches to preserve relationships, spontaneity, and quality of life. But there is an emerging fourth generation that is counterintuitive. Unlike the preceding generations, it recognizes that the real challenge is not in managing our time, the real challenge lies in managing ourselves. Rather than focus on things and time, the fourth generation focuses on preserving and enhancing relationships, on accomplishing results, and on taking care of ourselves. The fourth generation categorizes things by urgency and importance through a quad chart. Quadrant 1. This quadrant involves things that are urgent and important. It involves crisis or problems activities. The best way to approach this quadrant is through managing. It is essential not to be consumed by these things and avoid being too crisis, problem, or deadline-minded that we miss opportunities, growth, and renewal in our life. Quadrant 2. Things here deal with things that are not urgent but are important. The best way to approach this quadrant is through focus. It deals with things like building relationships, writing a personal mission statement, long-range planning, exercising, preventive maintenance, and preparation. Being centered in Quadrant 2 enables you to focus more on things that matter and on opportunity than problems. Quadrant 3 are things that are urgent but not important, such as interruptions, some phone calls, some meetings, and Quadrant 4 are things that are both not urgent and not important. It involves things that are trivial and time wasters or pastime activities such as watching television. The best way to approach this quadrant is to avoid or limit it. Effective people stay out of Quadrant 3 and 4 because people who spend the most time here lead irresponsible lives. The maturity continuum. The first 3 habits are about moving you from being dependent to being independent. To be effective as an individual by developing inner strength, purpose, vision, and values. Adopting the mindset of I can do it. I am responsible. I am self-reliant. I can choose. The next 3 habits are about moving you to the next level. It is about how to cooperate with other people to build strong relationships and how to be receptive and empathetic to the needs of others. Adopting to the mindset of through combining each other's talents and abilities, we create something greater together. The emotional bank account. An emotional bank account is a metaphor that describes the amount of trust that's been built up in a relationship. It's the feeling of safety you have with another person. If I make healthy emotional deposits into your emotional bank account, it builds up a reserve. The higher the reserve, the higher someone can trust you. But if I constantly show you discourtesy, disrespect, lying, threaten your safety, or other unhealthy things in your life, your emotional bank account gets overdrawn. When the reserve gets low, then the trust level gets low as well. 6 major deposits. understanding the individual, attending to the little things, keeping commitments, clarifying expectations, showing personal integrity, apologizing sincerely when you make a withdrawal, such as making a mistake or didn't follow through a promise. Habit 4. Think win-win. Think win-win is a philosophy of human interaction that constantly seeks mutual benefits in all of our interpersonal interactions. Win-win sees life as a cooperative and not a competitive arena. Success is not achieved at the expense of the success of others. Win-win is based on the paradigm that there is plenty for everybody, and don't view life like if someone were to get a big piece of the pie, it would mean less for everybody else. Everyone can grow the pie of life. Win-win is a belief that says it's not your way or my way, it's a better way, a higher way. Other paradigms of interaction are win-lose. It says if I win, you lose. I get my way, you don't get yours. Or lose-win. I lose, you win. Go ahead. Have your way with me. There's lose-lose. If nobody ever wins, perhaps being a loser isn't so bad. Win. Win mentality doesn't necessarily want someone else to lose. That's irrelevant. What matters is they get what they want. And lastly, and probably the best next option if win-win is not a possible choice, win-win or no deal. If we can't find a solution that would benefit us both, we agree to disagree agreeably. No deal. No expectations have been created and no contracts established. The 5 dimensions of win-win. Character. Character is the foundation of win-win, and everything else builds on that foundation. And these are the 3 character traits essential to win-win. Integrity, making and keeping meaningful promises and commitments to ourselves and others. Maturity. Maturity is the balance between courage and consideration. Abundance mentality. It is the paradigm that there is plenty out there for everybody. Agreement. This means building your relationships horizontally and not vertically. Relationships are not built on supervision, but on accountability and trust. No hierarchies or positions, but being partners in success. Systems and processes. Win-win can only survive in an environment that supports it. This means developing information and reward system that reinforces the value of cooperation, and people and organizations that constantly seek win-win solutions. Relationships. We build and maintain win-win relationships. The trust and emotional bank account is the essence of win-win. Without trust, the best we can do is compromise. Without trust, we lack the credibility for open and mutual learning and communication where real creativity can arise. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Let's give example scenarios. Scenario 1. Suppose you went to an optometrist to help you with your eyes. After briefly listening to you about problems you have with your eyesight, he takes off his glasses and hands them to you. Put these on, he says. I've used this pair of glasses for 10 years now. It only makes the problem worse. I can't see a thing, you say. Well, what's wrong? He asks. They work great for me. Try harder. Everything is a blur. Well, what's wrong with you? Think positively. Okay, I positively can't see a thing. You are ungrateful. Scenario 2. Imagine you want to share some concerns about school to your mom. Mom, there's something I'd like to tell you that's been bothering me lately, but I don't want to tell you because I don't want to make you upset. Sure, honey. What's bothering you lately? You can tell me. Oh, I don't know, Mom. You'd think it is stupid. Of course I wouldn't. You can tell me. Honey, no one cares for you as much as I do. What's making you so hot? Oh, I don't know. Come on, honey, what is it? Well, I think I don't like school anymore. And your mother responds, What? What do you mean you don't like school? You've sacrificed a lot just to give you your education. This is not for us. It's for your good, for your future. I don't think you don't like school. You've got the abilities. You just have to get it together. Try harder and fix your attitude about it. Let's take a pause. Tell me how you would feel in the scenarios. We have the tendencies to listen with the intent to reply, or even to interrupt people while they're speaking, and filter and project our own experiences and perspectives to what they are saying or about to say. The conversation becomes a monologue and misses the other person's perspective. We often miss taking the time to diagnose, to really deeply understand the problem from the other's point of view. One of the single most important principles of interpersonal relations, seek first to understand, then to be understood. This principle is the key to effective interpersonal communication. There are many ways to listen that are not optimal for effective interpersonal communication. We may be ignoring another person or pretending to listen. We may also practice selective listening, hearing only certain parts of the conversation. Or we may even practice attentive listening, paying attention and focusing our energy only on the words that are being said. Sometimes this is good enough for some situations, but not optimal. The highest form of listening that we can engage in is empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is listening with the intent to understand, to get inside someone's frame of reference. You look out through the way they see the world, to understand how they think and feel, to meet them emotionally and intellectually. Now let's apply this to our scenario earlier. Mom, there is something I'd like to tell you that's been bothering me lately, but I don't want to tell you because I don't want to make you upset. I feel that you're concerned about school. I'd like to hear it. I think I can't do school anymore. I sense that you're overwhelmed. What about school makes you feel this way? Well, I'm struggling with my academics lately, and I don't know what to do. I know you're doing your best. Don't be too hard on yourself. Thanks, Mom. What do you think I should do? One thing we can do is find a tutor that can assist you with subjects you're struggling with. What do you think? I'm interested with that idea, Mom. Let's try it. When you listen to someone with empathy, you're meeting a vital need for a human being, which is to be understood, validated, or appreciated. And after that vital need is met, you can then focus on influencing or problem solving. Habit 6. Synergize. Synergy means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It realizes the greatest powers within people while also valuing their differences, building on each other's strengths and helping each other with their weaknesses. It is teamwork, team building, and the development of unity and creativity with one another. Synergy is also when a group collectively agrees to subordinate old scripts and write new ones, a journey and a quest to create significantly better than before. Each other's communication is engaged with an open mind and heart to new possibilities and new alternatives, and is founded on the goal of mutual learning and growth. The following diagram illustrates how closely trust is related to different levels of communication. The lowest level of communication coming out of low trust situations would be characterized by defensiveness and protectiveness. The middle position is respectful communication. This is the level where people have respect for each other, but they want to avoid the possibility of confrontations, so they communicate politely and not empathetically. They might understand each other intellectually, but they don't look deeply. People in synergistic positions of high trust genuinely enjoy their creative enterprise. They nurture and enable open communication, and all parties seek mutually beneficial interactions. All the habits we have covered prepare us to have the ability to apply the power of synergy in our social interactions, to enable creative cooperation in our relationships, to empower an environment that is truly fulfilling for everyone, that nurtures the self-esteem and self-worth of each other, to create opportunity for each to mature into independence and then gradually into interdependence. A new script that is more geared to service and contribution, love, and care. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Suppose you were to come upon someone in the woods working feverishly to saw down a tree. What are you doing? You ask. Can't you see? I'm sawing down this tree. You look exhausted, you exclaim. How long have you been at it? Over 5 hours, and I'm beat. This is hard work. Well, why don't you take a break for a few minutes and sharpen that saw? I'm sure it would go a lot faster. I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I'm too busy sawing. Habit 7 is preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have. You. The habit of renewing the 4 dimensions of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social or emotional. The physical dimension is about taking care of your physical body to ensure eating healthy, getting enough rest, and exercising. The spiritual dimension is about renewing your core, your center, and your commitment to your value system to draw upon the sources that inspire and uplift you. The mental dimension is about continual education, constantly learning something new to hone and expand your mind, such as reading, thinking analytically, exploring new subjects, writing, planning, and visualizing. The social or emotional dimension is renewal in our relationships with others, exercising and nurturing our empathetic communication and creative cooperation in our relationships. Habit 7 also aims to empower us to move on an upward spiral of continual growth and change, of continuous improvement.